Hello again. Today we're going to be looking at Leviticus chapters 17 to 20. Now you may remember that we've got this kind of ring structure. So we've just come from the very centre of that, which was the Day of Atonement. And immediately before the Day of Atonement, we had a lot of laws about ordinary people. And now we've got some more laws about ordinary people. And I just want to show you two things from the chapters that you are either about to read or have just finished reading. The first is a little phrase which you've already encountered actually in chapter 11, verse 44, but we see it again here in 19, verse 2, and in chapter 20 as well. God says, "Be holy, for I am holy." This is a really important idea, an idea picked up by Jesus, who says, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." Now, you may remember that the people as the story is unfolding in Leviticus, although it's a lot of laws, it's part of a story, the people are still at Mount Sinai. And God has just made a covenant with them. And in part of that covenant, he says to them, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. He says, "Be holy, for I am holy." This is the call. This is the call to God's people back then. This is the call to God's people right now, to be who God has already declared that we are, and to live up to that, and to allow God's character to shape our own. Now, as part of what that means, and in a sense, Leviticus is unpacking what that means all the way through. But as part of that, then, is the second thing I want to show you very briefly. And it's these words that I hope you knew were in the Old Testament, but you possibly didn't know. You may have thought that they came from Jesus originally. Love your neighbour as yourself. Chapter 19, verse 19. Love your neighbour as yourself. And chapter 19 contains a kind of exploration in many ways of what it means to love your neighbour. There's instructions about, what have we got here? Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another. Instructions about not defrauding people, about not forgetting to pay somebody that you owe them, who you owe money to, not perverting the course of justice. Instructions about not harvesting to the very edge of your fields. Now, probably most of us don't have fields, but what might it look like for us to live in the spirit of that law, not to scrape every last penny out of people that we deal with, perhaps, especially maybe those who are on minimum wage or below that. Really good to meditate on what it looks like to love your neighbour, as the writer of Leviticus is setting out there. But one more thing to show you, that language of love your neighbour as yourself is expanded really surprisingly in verse 34 of the same chapter, which says, love the resident alien as yourself. The resident alien were people who weren't Israelites. They were foreigners living in the land, living among the people. Don't just love your own as yourself. Love the other as yourself, says the writer to Leviticus. You saw it first here.